Gaius Julius Caesar. The name itself evokes images of power, ambition, and ultimately, tragedy. Born into a turbulent era of Roman history, Caesar's early life offered glimpses of the political acumen and ruthlessness that would define his legacy. From a young age, he navigated the treacherous waters of Roman politics with an ambition that startled some and captivated others. His lineage, tracing back to the legendary founders of Rome, fueled his belief in a destiny far grander than what his circumstances might have initially suggested. Caesar's early political maneuvers were a testament to his cunning and ambition. He forged alliances with powerful figures, using charm and strategy in equal measure. His capture by pirates during a voyage across the Aegean Sea became a legendary tale, showcasing his audacity and unwavering self-belief. When the pirates demanded a ransom, Caesar scoffed, insisting they demand more, befitting his stature. He promised them that upon his release, he would return and crucify them all, a promise he chillingly fulfilled. This episode not only highlighted Caesar's daring, but also his unwavering commitment to following through on his word, a trait that would inspire both loyalty and fear. His military campaigns, particularly his conquest of Gaul, further cemented his reputation as a brilliant strategist and a leader of men. The Gallic Wars, chronicled in Caesar's own accounts, showcased his military genius and his ability to inspire his legions to achieve seemingly impossible victories. He understood the power of propaganda and ensured that his triumphs were celebrated throughout Rome. He presented himself as a champion of the people, a man of action who could deliver glory and expand the Republic's frontiers. Caesar envisioned a Rome that was strong, unified, and led by a leader capable of imposing order on a republic increasingly riven by internal divisions. As Caesar's star rose, so too did the anxieties of Rome's established elite. The old families, who had long held a monopoly on power, viewed his growing influence with suspicion and fear. The Senate, the heart of Roman politics, became a battleground between those who saw Caesar as a threat to the Republic and those who were willing to back his ascent.
It was in this climate of suspicion and rivalry that the first triumvirate was forged, a political alliance that would reshape the Roman Republic. The first triumvirate was an unlikely alliance of three ambitious men: Julius Caesar, Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus, known as Pompey the Great, and Marcus Licinius Crassus.
Each of us brought to the table our own strengths and ambitions. I, the rising political star, possessed the charisma and popular support that Pompey and Crassus lacked.
I, a celebrated general, commanded the loyalty of legions and enjoyed the prestige of numerous military victories.
Crassus, the wealthiest man in Rome, provided the financial backing that fueled the triumvirate's political ambitions. This alliance, formalized in 60 BC, was a masterstroke of political maneuvering. Together, the three men controlled vast armies, immense wealth, and wielded significant influence over the Senate. They used their combined power to dominate Roman politics, securing lucrative appointments for themselves and their allies, and passing legislation that consolidated their grip on power. The first triumvirate was a marriage of convenience, born out of political expediency rather than genuine friendship. Each man harbored his own ambitions, and the seeds of future conflict were sown within the very foundation of their alliance. The death of Crassus in 53 BC, during a disastrous campaign against the Parthians, shattered the fragile equilibrium of the triumvirate. Caesar's military campaigns, particularly his conquest of Gaul, cemented his reputation as a brilliant strategist and a leader of men. His victories were not solely attributed to brute force, but to a keen understanding of tactics, logistics, and the psychology of warfare.
My commentaries on the Gallic Wars, though undoubtedly self-serving, provide a fascinating glimpse into my military thinking. They reveal a commander who was adaptable, decisive, and capable of inspiring extraordinary feats of courage and endurance from his legions.
Beyond his military prowess, Caesar was also a shrewd politician. He understood the importance of winning the support of the people, even as he consolidated his own power. He enacted a series of reforms designed to appeal to the masses, including land redistribution programs for veterans and the poor, and the expansion of Roman citizenship. He also oversaw ambitious infrastructure projects, such as the construction of roads and aqueducts, which not only improved the lives of ordinary Romans, but also served as visible symbols of his reign. Caesar's political reforms were not merely acts of populism. They were calculated moves to enhance his own authority and weaken the grip of the traditional elite. By appealing directly to the people, he bypassed the Senate and established a direct line of communication with the masses. This populist approach, combined with his military triumphs, made him a formidable force in Roman politics, one that his enemies underestimated at their peril. He used his victories in Gaul to stage lavish triumphs in Rome, parading captured treasures and defeated enemies before cheering crowds. The year 49 BC marked a turning point in Roman history. After years of mounting tensions, the rivalry between Caesar and Pompey erupted into open conflict.
The Senate, under my influence, ordered Caesar to relinquish command of his legions and return to Rome as a private citizen.
This ultimatum, a blatant attempt to strip Caesar of his power base, left him with an impossible choice: submit to the Senate's demands and risk facing trial, or march on Rome and ignite a civil war.
Caesar chose defiance. With my loyal legions at my back, I crossed the Rubicon River, the boundary between Cisalpine Gaul and Italy, an act tantamount to a declaration of war against the Roman Republic.
This fateful decision, immortalized in the phrase "Alea iacta est," the die is cast, marked the beginning of a bloody civil war that would decide the fate of Rome. The crossing of the Rubicon was a calculated gamble that underscored Caesar's audacity and his unwavering belief in his own destiny.
He knew that by marching on Rome, he was committing an act of treason, one that would brand him an enemy of the state.
Yet he also understood that the Senate's demands were an existential threat to his own survival. He had come too far, achieved too much to surrender his power without a fight. Caesar's gamble paid off, at least initially. His lightning advance into Italy caught Pompey and his supporters off guard. Rome itself, poorly defended, fell into his hands without a fight. With Pompey defeated and the remnants of senatorial opposition scattered, Caesar stood as the undisputed master of Rome.
I was appointed dictator for life in 44 BC, a position that granted me unprecedented power and authority.
Caesar, however, was not content with simply holding the reins of power. He embarked on an ambitious program of reforms, seeking to reshape Roman society and government in his own image. Caesar's reforms as dictator were sweeping and far-reaching.
I centralized the Roman administration, streamlined the bureaucracy, and made it more efficient. I reformed the calendar, introducing the Julian calendar, which remained in use for centuries.
He granted citizenship to people in Rome's conquered territories, expanding the rights and privileges of Roman citizenship. He also instituted social reforms, such as establishing colonies for veterans and the urban poor, and implementing measures to alleviate unemployment.
My accumulation of power, while presented as necessary for the restoration of order, aroused the suspicion and resentment of many in the Roman elite.
The Ides of March, March 15th on the Roman calendar, dawned like any other day in Rome.
Yet fate had conspired to make this date infamous in the annals of history. A group of senators calling themselves the Liberatores, Liberators, had been plotting Caesar's assassination for weeks.
Led by Marcus Junius Brutus, a man Caesar had once favored, and Gaius Cassius Longinus, these conspirators believed that Caesar's death was necessary to save the Roman Republic from what they perceived as his tyrannical ambitions.
As I entered the Senate that fateful day, I was surrounded by a throng of senators, some genuinely supportive, others harboring murderous intentions.
A petition was presented to him, supposedly pleading for clemency for a banished senator. As Caesar read the document, the conspirators closed in, their daggers drawn.
Startled but defiant, I attempted to resist, but I was quickly overwhelmed by the sheer number of my attackers.
Stabbed repeatedly, he fell to the foot of a statue of Pompey, his former friend and now fallen rival, his blood staining the marble floor of the Senate chamber. The deed was done. Gaius Julius Caesar, the man who had conquered Gaul, crossed the Rubicon and risen to the pinnacle of Roman power, lay dead at the hands of his countrymen.
The assassination of Caesar sent shockwaves throughout the Roman world.
The assassination of Julius Caesar marked the end of an era in Roman history, but it also marked the beginning of a new chapter in the story of Western civilization. Caesar's life and death had a profound impact on the course of history, shaping the political landscape of Europe for centuries to come. His name became synonymous with power, ambition, and the enduring allure of absolute rule. Caesar's legacy is a complex and multifaceted one. He was a brilliant military strategist, a shrewd politician, and a ruthless dictator. He was responsible for both great achievements and great tragedies. He expanded the Roman Republic to unprecedented heights, but his ambition also led to its downfall. He was a champion of the people, but he also trampled on the traditions and institutions that had long defined Roman society. His most enduring legacy, perhaps, is the very word that bears his name, Caesar. It became a title, adopted by his successors, and ultimately evolved into the words Kaiser and Czar, titles used by emperors and monarchs for centuries.